Hello, and welcome to another episode of Absolutely Not. I am your host, Katrina Stroll. I'm a certified career coach and HR consultant. I created this space because I have difficulty setting boundaries, and I just don't want to have difficulties doing that anymore. So I bring resources out there in the world to come onto my show and tell me how to do it. And so I don't have to stress myself out about doing it. And I'm getting it for free, but don't tell them. I would like to start the show by defining some words that we use frequently throughout the show. The first being boundary, something that indicates or fixes a limit. So something where something stops. For instance, if you tell your boss, hey, I don't want to work past 9 o'clock anymore, that is a boundary you are setting with them. Gaslighting, to manipulate someone by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. Recently, I learned about gaslighting yourself. And an example of that would be, oh, I am not good enough to apply for this position. Obviously, I don't have the credentials that they're asking for, so I'm not going to. That is an example of gaslighting yourself. Dismissive, showing that something is unworthy of consideration. To be dismissive to yourself, again, would be if you weren't eating lunch, if you're not working out and being healthy in your own health, just because you're working for yourself and you're your own boss, that's still being dismissive of your needs. Today's episode is about setting boundaries. That's it. We're just going to be talking about setting boundaries and how freaking hard it is to do so. My special guest is Amanda Huffman. Hey. Amanda is a military spouse and veteran who served in the Air Force for 6 years as a civil engineer, including a deployment to Afghanistan. Yes. She met her husband while attending college, and they served on active duty together until their first son was born. It was then that she traded in her combat boots for a diaper bag to stay at home. Amanda is now a mom of 2 boys and continues to follow her husband's military career. She has lived in New Mexico, Ohio, California, and currently resides in Northern Virginia. She published her first book in 2019, and she titled it Women of the Military, sharing the stories of 28 military women. In 2019, she also launched her podcast, also titled Women of the Military. On the podcast, there has been representation from all 5 military branches and featured stories from the 23rd Secretary of the Air Force, Brigadier General Wilma Vaught, the Women Air Force Service Pilots to present day. Wow. She has been published on multiple military sites and magazines, has been featured in a number of podcasts, and she was a panelist speaker at the podcast movement in 2019. Wow. You can learn more about Amanda and at her blog, Airman to Mom. Please help me in welcoming Amanda. Wow, that's so amazing. Holy moly. How did I get this person on my show? But that's neither here nor there. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight, Amanda. If you could share with the audience a little bit about why you're excited to be on today.
I'm really excited because I've really struggled with setting boundaries, and I've learned a lot of tools over the last 6 months that have really changed how I run my business and how I feel about my business and my life and finding balance. And so I'm really excited to talk about that.
Oh my gosh, I am excited too. So just to share with y'all out there, Amanda was the person that shared with me about gaslighting yourself and being dismissive to yourself. Because I'm not really cognizant of that because I'm still kind of working for corporate America, but she's her full-time boss. So her examples are all on her. Ooh, could you talk a little bit about how you've had to be more in tune with that while being your own boss?
I think that the more that I put myself out there, the more that I realize that I do have a lot to offer. And so I kind of push that voice down and I've stopped listening to it, because if I listened to the inner voice, I would be too afraid to do pretty much everything I'm doing right now. Because it's really, everyone asks me how are you doing this stuff? I'm like, I don't know. I just do it. And then I mess up and then I try again, and so I just keep pushing forward, and I have to not let that voice stop me from taking that risk and taking that jump.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Because same. I constantly have that voice. We all have that record player in our head saying, like, what the hell are you doing right now? Like, how are you even attempting to reach out to these people? How are you attempting to move forward in this? And I love that you said you're pushing it down. What's playing on the other track? Are there any affirmations playing on the other track?
I think it's the emails that I get, the comments on my blog, and the reviews on my podcast. Those things are what really push me forward because they're the reminder of like why I do what I do, and also some of the stories that I get to share from women, and then after they get to tell their story and their emails about how powerful it was to share their story. Things like that are what push me to keep going because I see the impact when I get to hear those stories.
Oh, I see the impact. Okay, Amanda, and
You
I
weren't
told you,
lying.
before that I am not gonna cry. What time? Yeah, no, not yet. I would love if you shared for us. I know that you said you've had difficulty before setting boundaries, but you found a lot of growth in setting boundaries. What does a boundary look like to you?
For me, it's knowing how to react in different situations. I used to think that boundaries were just like, oh, I'm going to work from this hour to this hour. But I found that in my business, a lot of reoccurring incidents would happen and I would like freak out and get very emotional and not know how to respond. And my business coach, Sarah Maples, helped me by helping me come up with if this happens, this is the answer. And so it took the emotional stress out of like, what do I do when this person sends me an email like this or reaches out? And so now I know when something happens like that, I already have my boundaries. And of course, I can change based on like different situations, but I don't have to put this emotional toil into deciding what I'm going to say because I already have it mapped out. And then it's been really helpful because I was spending a lot of emotional energy and how to respond and not looking at it as a business, but looking at it as myself. Like they were emailing the business and I was like, but I'm me, what do I do? And so now I have these business boundaries of what I'm going to do in different business situations and it takes the emotion out and makes it easier for me to respond.
Wow, that is okay. Who? Your business coach claps because wow.
Yeah,
I
she's
love that you
amazing.
said knowing how to react, and that's all it is. When people come to you for those last minute, hey, can you do this really quick? Can you? Oh no, I already have something in place to react to this, so I'm good. My therapist shared with me. She said, in between that emotion that you're feeling, there's a gap, and then the action comes later. But you have like a small gap there to decide what you're going to do. So when I get those emails and I feel that like, I have time to react. I know it doesn't feel like it, but I have time. I have that gap. And I love that. But you have everything mapped out. So you and I know that you talked about that emotional labor that you were going through. And it sounds like you had difficulties before. Could you describe a time when you had difficulties before?
I was having a lot of trouble when people were asking for me to do stuff and not pay me. And so and so I was getting really emotionally upset because they were asking me, but then when Sarah explained to me, she's like, it's a business. They're going to try and get as much as they can for free. And then if they have to pay you, then they'll pay you. And so if you have your boundary set, I don't do this unless you pay me, then it's easy. And it's not me responding, it's me as my business. My business says that when I get an email where they're asking for a sponsor, like a guest post, and it's for a specific company, I'll be like, you can have the space if there's space on the blog, but you have to pay me, or we have, we have to figure out something because I can't just be saying yes, yes, yes to everything and not getting paid. I'm a business. And so, but I don't need to get emotional that a business company or a PR person is sending me a message asking me to do this for free and then be like, well, they're trying to take advantage of me. It's like, no, they're just a business. That's how businesses work. And if they really want to be on my blog or if they want me to speak or whatever, then they'll pay me. And if not, I don't have to worry about it because I don't want to do it. And so that's been a really clear, important boundary.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I love that you said that people are going to ask you for how much, however they want to ask you. They're just going to keep asking. If you give it for free, then they'll take it. But who's not going to take
Right.
something for free?
Exactly.
I think that flows over to your personal life as well. Even the connections we're making out there in corporate America or in your business or at work, those connections, make sure they're not getting stuff for free. Make sure that emotional labor you're putting into that relationship or whatever you connected that person with that person, make sure they're not getting it for free. Find the value in that relationship. And if you cannot find the value, then maybe you shouldn't be in that relationship anymore. This is something to think about. Okay. But thank you so much for sharing that time with me. I think so often people have difficulty setting boundaries, but there's a lot of reasons to why. Could you talk about the reasons you had difficulty setting boundaries before?
For my business, I wasn't in the right mindset. There's like a mindset shift you have to make between like being Amanda and being the owner of Airman to Mom LLC. And I couldn't get out of the Amanda, and I was taking everything like personal, like they were sending it to me. And but they're not. They're sending it to my business, and I'm a business owner. And so I think sometimes we get stuck in the everything's like me, and it's like it's not you, it's whatever your title, whatever your role, if you're a business or if you're an executive or if you're the clerk at the store. Like people interact with people based on like what they're doing. And it's not, especially if it's a business transaction, it's not an emotional thing. Like the clerk who does my groceries, who asks me how I am, I'm not going to be like telling her my whole life story. I'm just going to be like, oh yeah, I'm good, hope you're doing. And we have this like business conversation while we're checking out. And I think I didn't make that shift between me and my business. And then once I started setting boundaries and I could see like it wasn't me, it was my business, it was like it took the emotion away, so it made it a lot easier.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And that's so from somebody who works under people on a daily basis, that emotional aspect gets in there a lot. When my manager says, "Hey, I need you to do this," or "Hey, I'm switching out your shift for this," that emotional aspect seeps in. But it's important to remember this is a business that we are working for a paycheck, and that's the transactional relationship that we have. And if for some reason I don't like the confines of this relationship anymore, which this is still a relationship in the confines, but then I can leave.
Right.
And it's not personal at all. It's just the boundaries that I need don't relate to what's going on right here. Wow, that is amazing. You're a business coach, man. We need to
She
buy
is
her.
amazing.
Yeah, get her some awards. Get her something. Oh my gosh, this is good. I love that you said you had to shift your mindset. Are there what was the first step to you shifting your mindset? Was there a first step?
So I went to this military spouse retreat that was called Makeovers That Matter in California. And when I went to that, I didn't realize the impact that I was going to get a makeover. But we spent a lot of time talking about business and like looking at yourself differently and even like thinking about yourself as a business owner. And at that point, I was looking at my business as a hobby. And when I went to that makeover, it really changed my mindset from being, oh, this is a hobby that I do. And like sometimes I make money to like actually, it was like a mindset shift. It was the coolest, unexpected thing that I got. I mean, I got a makeover at the end, which was awesome, but it was really the mindset part that they spent so much time talking about, having this mindset, changing your focus, and like focusing on myself. Before that, I was always putting like my kids first and my husband first, and like, which my kids and my husband are important, but my business is still important, and there needs to be like boundaries set on where, I can't just drop everything every moment my kid needs help.
I mean, try to, but
Yeah.
I love that you said I had to focus more on myself. A lot of us that didn't grow up with boundaries in place that's something that we have difficult, that mindset right there. Like, okay, care for everyone, care for everything on the planet beyond yourself. Like, don't even give yourself a first thought. Like, don't even pee if you if you need to. Just don't hold it till the end of the day and get everything else done. So I love that you said you put yourself first, because that's number one. That is the first thing you will have to do, is realize that these boundaries are going to be put in place for you. Oh, that's amazing. Amanda, I know that you're doing so well in your journey with boundaries, but as you're setting boundaries in your business or maybe even in your personal life, have you ever set a boundary and then received discomfort or a kickback from somebody that you set a boundary with?
So I've been really lucky so far in the boundary setting, but I was one of the things that I've learned from setting boundaries is that when I tell people like, "Hey, this is my boundary," they're like, "Oh, okay." And then like, cause someone wanted to make a meet with me, and so they're like, "Oh, how about 1 o'clock Eastern, which is not Eastern Pacific, which is 4 o'clock Eastern," and it was a Friday, and I was like, "Well, I stopped working at 4 on Friday." And she's like, "Oh, how about we just do it at 1 Eastern and I'll move everything." And so she was able to move her schedule and find a different time during the day that worked for her, because I was able to say, because at first I was like, "Oh, I'm free all day on Friday." But then when she sent me the time, I was like, "Oh, but actually I do have a boundary." And so I apologized and was like, "I actually stopped working at 4 on Fridays." And she said, "Oh, that's fine." But it was so hard for me to write that email and be like, "Actually, I stopped working," because I thought she was going to be mad at me because I didn't tell her. But then she understood and it was fine. And then another person needed to move a meeting back 30 minutes. And I was like, "That's fine, but I stopped working at 4." So, and I said, "So we can either reschedule or we can have a shorter meeting." And so we were able to work around that. But when you don't know your boundaries, it's really hard to do that. But if you know them, then you can express them. And I think it's when people are confused, because you're like, "I sort of can't." But if you're just like, "This is my boundary," then they respect that.
And I love that, because as soon as you said that, it reminded me of that old saying, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you had told that person, like, sure, we can do 4 o'clock, then you would have been sitting there in that 4 o'clock meeting just like, I freaking hate it here. And I wish I had said that I have to leave early. It's Friday. I hate it.
Right.
And so often we do that. We're just like, oh, sure, it's fine, whatever. And then we're in that 4 o'clock. And then after the meeting, you're just like, I hate that person. Like, I hate that person. They're an awful person for not automatically knowing that I get off at 4. And like, why didn't they know that? They're so inconsiderate. I mean, it's 4 o'clock. And you do that for like weeks. For weeks,
Right?
you're like, what an awful woman. Like, I could not even imagine working with her ever again. When honestly, if you're truthful with yourself, you could have prevented all of that. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh. But Amanda, that's amazing that you're going through this journey and you haven't gotten any I mean, I'm happy for you. That's great.
Me too. Me too.
You're like, me too. I mean, hopefully it doesn't occur. But when it does, I know that your business coach is probably going to have you ready
Right.
to handle it.
Yeah, she'll have me ready.
Awesome. Okay. So it sounds like you're flourishing in your business and you have a business coach and you're doing well. It does sound like every now and then we have a little internal gaslighting or internal dismissiveness. Is that difficult for you, or does it ever discourage you from staying in the field and business that you're in today?
No, because I have so many amazing people who support me. So I know I'll make you cry. Uh, so it's hard to quit when you have people who are encouraging you and like listening to your podcast every week. And there are things that I'm working on starting a girls guide, and it's not going the way I hoped. And so I'm like re-strategizing, because I know that information is important, but I haven't found the right way to do it. So sometimes I like stop and try something new, and then when that doesn't work, try another thing. But I keep going forward because I don't know, it's too fun. I love what I do. I can't stop what I'm doing. And I have lots more dreams of more stuff to do, so I just got to keep moving forward.
Oh, that's amazing. And see, when it's fun, right? Like it doesn't feel like work. Oh, that's amazing. Big shout out to everybody out there who is doing the fun work out there. Some of us are still out here grinding, trying to get a paycheck. But to all of you like Amanda who are doing that fun work, I applaud you and I hope to be there with you someday. For the young professionals out there that are trying to move into your space, kind of being just an overall badass in their own business, what are the top tips that you would share with them about setting boundaries and about being your own boss?
Setting boundaries. Know what your boundaries are. That would be the first thing. And then and I guess when you set your boundaries, don't look at what so and so's doing or someone else, because I think a lot of times we think, "Oh, look, that person's doing this and they're doing that." And like maybe you can't do all that. Maybe you're at a life stage where you can only put 2 to 3 hours a week for your business. Well, that's fine. Just know what those 2 to 3 hours are, set those boundaries, and then make them work. And then life will change, and then you'll have more time. When I started my blog, I was blogging 5 minutes once a week, and that's how it all started. And then it slowly grew over time, over years of time, not not months. And so I think you need to put the blinders on and set the boundaries that are right for you. Like you can't copy someone else's boundaries. You can't use what I'm saying and being like, okay, that's working for her, so I'm gonna do that. No, you need to figure out what works for you, for your life circumstances, and then set those boundaries. And then I think every like 6 months, maybe more, you need to reevaluate them, either to get yourself back on track because you like, you know, jumped off the train and you're not
Mhm.
following those boundaries, or to reassess and see, is this working? Can I tweak this? Can I tweak that? Because I'm doing that in my business all the time, trying to tweak things so I can do it faster and easier.
Um, okay, Amanda. I thought I was going to get through this, but I did not. Um, I love that you said for you. You said for you like a multiple times, and that's what got me to tear up because yeah, I'm a certified career coach. Where there's a million of us out there, so constantly I'm seeing on social media. I'm seeing, oh wow, she has a whole new da da da, or she's doing this or da da da. But we have to put those blinders on because what is for her is not for me. I have mental health conditions. I am an advocate for mental health. Like what her journey is not my journey, so it's just not going to work out. My gosh, I'm about to cry just saying that.
Yeah.
I think that really hit home for me, and I hope it hits home for a lot of people because we are just in such a digital age where you can see everyone's journey kind of in the, what do they call that? The peanut seeds? Not the peanut seeds. The nosebleed. You can see it from the
Oh
nosebleed,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you're not seeing it from the dugout. You're not seeing what they're going through. You're not seeing what they're doing. So yeah, wow, Amanda, how did I? Okay, that's neither here nor there. That's also internal gaslighting. Um, lastly, I would love to ask you, as you look back on your career, specifically when you started your business, could you give us one time where you wish you had set a boundary?
Lots of times. I think I'm trying to think of like a time when I've gotten. I think right now I'm kind of in this stage of where I'm starting to get burnout and I can feel myself getting burnout. And so I took a few days off, but I didn't plan for it. And so now I'm playing catch up on everything. But I really needed that mental break. So like for 4 days, I spent just time with my kids, and we went on hikes, and went we live in DC, outside of DC, so we went to Mount Vernon, and like we just spent time exploring and spending time together and ignored work. And I really needed that break from working. And I think I've with COVID hitting, before COVID, I would like work really hard and then we would have vacation and then I would have that break. But with that COVID, there's not really any vacation. So you're like always home, always working. And so I'm trying to find ways to like force myself to take breaks from working, because that's been a really big struggle for me, because I'm getting tired because I'm doing so much, and then and then COVID's wearing on us because we can't get out and see people. And so that's just, I think that's the biggest thing I'm struggling with right now, is finding that balance, because I just want to work, 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 and then I get burnout and I don't want to don't want to work, and I still have all this work to do. So
um thank you so much for sharing that with me. As soon as you said, I feel like I'm getting burnout, and I knew I needed to go away, it reminded me of like the military, and just how there was no space where I could realize I was getting burned out. And they always say you're always transitioning, forever transitioning. And this is a new phase in my life where I'm learning about boundaries. And I realized, oh, I can feel the burnout. I can do something about it. In the military, there was no do something. There was just like, all right, get your ass up and go to work the next day. So
that's
yeah,
true.
yeah,
That's true. That's really important to think about, is some of the negative things, like the military teaches you these traits, and then you like get into civilian life and you're like, oh, I can take a break, or I can think about myself. And those are things that the military doesn't, not that they frown upon, it's just it's a team and you have to get the mission done, and it doesn't matter how tired you are, because you have to get the mission done.
right. Just and the mission just doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, it doesn't do any of that. So maybe you don't have to either. They think that. Oh my gosh, that's so wow. And see, this is why I love having these conversations, and I love having this space, because through this space I am growing, but also I'm hoping that everyone that's listening or being able to see this is growing as well. Because I know your insight today has just been invaluable. Like I wish I had all the money in the world to give it to you, because this is amazing. I'm going to grow as a person from the words you have shared with me today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! But you're a business coach. Oh, give her a raise. Like she's doing her job. Is there anything else you would like to share to the audience before we open it up to the floor for any questions?
I think the only thing is just to think about like the emotion. Like once you can take the emotion out of a situation, it just really changes how your body and your mind can react to it. So if you're struggling with setting boundaries, try and think about like the emotion. And if there's a same reoccurring thing that happens over and over, try and figure out a solution now, so that you don't have to. That's how I'm able to bypass the emotion, because I'm like, oh, I got an email like this. Here's the answer, instead of saying, how do I respond? So yeah, so if you see themes where there's something where you freak out, then find a response so that you can bypass that.
Right. And so yeah, so that those emotions that we're talking about, they're warnings. Like it's just your body telling you like, hey, we're feeling something, you should probably do something about it. So you just need to realize and regulate what your body's trying to tell you. Hey, I feel anxious because dot dot dot. Or I feel angry at this person because dot dot dot. When you just say I feel angry, period, that's okay, sis, what are we gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do about that?
Right.
We'll just be angry then. Oh, okay. Man, Amanda. Ooh. Okay, I will now open it up to the floor for any questions or any comments. Amanda is in the hot seat. She knows everything about boundaries and will answer any questions for you.
Not everything. Still learning.
Have you had anybody talk about boundaries on your podcast? In a sense, I mean, they're everywhere.
Probably. I mean, we talk about leadership a lot, because I interview people and we talk about their military story. And so I'm trying to think. I did an interview this morning that's going live in July, and I feel like we touched on boundaries this morning.
Nice.
Maybe it was on my mind. But I don't think it comes up enough, because in the military, like you said, we don't really have boundaries. We just have to get the mission done.
Oh, see that. Uh, there are so many great leaders out there, and I think the emotional intelligence part of leadership, and the boundaries part of leadership, and just the personal growth part of leadership is not really talked about specifically in the military, but in a lot of organizations, just because it's not it's not helpful to the mission. It's
Right.
nice to have, like, cool, you know how to set boundaries in the workplace. Cool, go away. Like, can you get these jets in the air?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
especially because we've been at war for so long. So the ops tempo is really high for the military.
yeah, definitely. So I was in Japan for most of my service, and we went out every 6 months. And yeah, that it did not give time for breathing or peeing, or I keep saying peeing, or,
Right.
or eating. So yeah, yeah, boundaries, man, they're everywhere. They're just not on the front page. That's what I think. If there are no questions for Amanda, I'm going to awkwardly hum for like 3 more seconds. And then I'm going to start asking you questions. It's going to be rapid fire.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I could never
I'm
do
ready.
that. Okay, great. Who has helped you the most besides your business? Who has helped you the most in setting boundaries or your growth in boundaries?
I think my kids oddly have helped me the most because I realize how important they are and how fast they're growing up. So it really reminds me of how important it is to set boundaries because I don't want to miss this stage because they're 5 and 7, which is like the best age ever, at least so far. I guess there's more to life to come, but I'm really enjoying the age that they're at right now. And so that's why boundaries is so important to me because I don't want to spend all this time at the computer and build my business because I want to be there for my kids. And then when they don't want to hang out with me, I guess I could hang out at the computer all day long because they don't want to be around me anyways. But right now they want to be with mom, so I'm trying to set really good boundaries so I can spend as much time with them as possible.
So awesome. Wow, I have not even thought. I have a 2-year-old son, and so he is very much a really big reason of why boundaries are so important. I have my own business as well, and so a lot of clients are like, "Hey, can we meet at 7 o'clock at night?" I'm like, "No, what? My son goes to bed at that, like, I'm in that small window. I have to be there to like and do the process."
Right.
So yeah, wow. See, oh, Amanda, how, man, your mindfulness. Oh, I can't think of a different word for it, but your mindfulness of where you are in life is so inspiring. What word would you describe it as? Beyond mindfulness, what is this feeling, or what is this state or season?
Well, I have been meditating for about the last year and it's really helped me. And so I feel like meditation opens your mind to be able to like let, all the stuff go by that like the train of stuff, the train of thoughts go by. And so it I did meditation because my mom saw a thing about how it helps veterans with PTSD, and then she was like, "You should do it." And I'm like, "Whatever, lady, you, whatever, mom. I don't need. I don't. I'm fine." And then she paid for my app that I use. I use 10%, and she was like, "Try it, and I'll pay for it." And so I started using it, and it was the thing that I needed that I had no idea that I needed. And it's just 10, 15 minutes a day of sitting and, you know, focusing on breathing and I love doing the kindness ones where you're like giving kindness to different people. And it just helps me to stop and like recenter myself. And so I think you said mindfulness, and it's funny because you didn't know that I'm all into meditation, but I think it is mindfulness that has got me to where I am today.
Amazing. Another topic that is not on the headline. I think it's probably on like the back page underneath the coupons or whatever. But mindfulness is so important. That's where you get that emotional regulation. That's where you get that touching and grounding and just being able to say, I am safe right now. And I don't need to answer this email right now until I am composed and ready to answer this email. But it's just that, like, oh God, let me do it right now.
Right.
Oh, that's not mindful at all. You're not giving you time for your body to process or kind of just go through the motions with what's going on. Man, oh, I was on a call yesterday with I just meet random people on Lunch Club. It's like a networking app. But she taught me about like centering myself and sitting straight up and looking behind myself. And for some reason, just looking behind yourself for like 3 seconds, it made me feel safe. It made me feel like nobody could get me. And I've shared this before. I have PTSD, so that's very important to me, which is why my desk is like right by a wall because I want to see what's in front of me. Um, but that's also mindfulness. Like I am mindful that I am okay and I'm safe in this space. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, people don't think this stuff connects. All of this stuff is together. Yeah. How to be successful. It's all connected. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Oh man. Okay. So you have been meditating for about a year. Are there any other things that kind of bring you grounded and bring you into the space to be able to set boundaries?
So I've been following Amy Bouchat, and she has a podcast that I don't actually listen to. I just follow her on Instagram. But she has challenged to spend 20 minutes outside every day. And before I started following her and like paying attention to her podcast, I didn't realize how often I didn't go outside, like especially in the winter. I could spend the whole day in my house because I work from home. So I'm just, sitting at my desk and then doing schoolwork with the boys, and I never have to like leave my house. And so it was really interesting because I started noticing it. And so I've been trying to make an effort to go outside every day and get that sunlight and just the nature, being in nature and being outside is so important.
That's amazing. I love the word that you use the word effort. And I think that is just a common denominator in this entire discussion is to set boundaries, you have to put in the effort. You have to be mindful. You have to put in the effort to be mindful, to be able to go outside and spend those 20 minutes. You have to put in the effort. And this is really hard work. And as always, I commend everyone who's trying to be that person, to be that rock that's setting boundaries in their life. I know it's freaking hard because I'm doing it and it's freaking hard. Amanda has done it and she said it's freaking hard. But you have the willpower and just the tenacity to do it. We're here for you if you need us. Amanda is definitely here for you because I'm still on my journey, but she is rock solid. She got it. And Amanda, I cannot thank you enough for being a guest on my show today and just sharing everything you've gone through and just everything you've learned about setting boundaries. Before we wrap it up, do you have any other words of wisdom to give to the audience?
I think just start where you're at and enjoy the journey. In the podcast interview I did this morning, she said it's not about the destination, it's the journey to get there. And I think sometimes we get so focused on like where other people are at and we forget like to just enjoy the journey. The failures in your business are what make you stronger and help you grow and maybe even push you in the direction you need to go. So as much as it sucks to be in that like limbo stage or feel like you're not moving forward, it really is important. And if you just keep pushing forward, you'll find what you're meant to do.
Oh, I love that. And I hope you guys all heard that. Just keep pushing forward and you will find what you're meant to do. Keep setting those boundaries, keep holding people accountable, keep setting those expectations early in relationships so that everybody in that relationship knows what you're about and what they are not about. Because if they're not about you, then they can go. Once again, this has been Absolutely Not. I am your host, Katrina Stroll, and I thank y'all so much for tuning in. My special guest today was Amanda Huffman, and she was a rock star. If you need any type of help setting boundaries, please contact her or her business coach because she is killing it. But thank you so much. If you go to my website, www.absolutelynotwithkatrina.com, you can donate, subscribe, review the show, and we would love to have you see you next time. Thank you. Bye.